They promised that the great institutions would protect us. Instead, they built a stage where they protected themselves. What if all they called order was really just a theater? What if the fall of an empire wasn't an accident, but the final act of a play written to keep power intact? Picture it for a moment. The curtain rises, and at its center there are no heroes, only machines that have learned to preserve themselves. This is the story of those who run the backstage when the spotlight fades.
This is how we got here. Decades of small concessions solidified into structures. Everyday impatience turned into procedures. Response time became protocol. Urgency became routine. The establishment learned to love invitations, dinners, and headline praise. It preferred membership in the club to facing true upheaval. Meanwhile, outside, groups and voices grew radicalized, not by chance, but by consequence. When the doors of power close, the windows of frustration open. The sum of these choices didn't happen overnight. It was a progression. Apathy, adaptation, capture. And then came an election many felt as a point of no return. A broken mirror reflecting not just a contest, but the way the machine justifies itself. Beneath the words and speeches lies an invisible mechanism. It's not merely a ministry, a department, or a building. It's a network. Agents, rules, contracts, connections linking intelligence, defense, financial hubs, and digital platforms. Each node in this web learned to operate beyond scrutiny, with rational-sounding justifications. National security, stability, prevention. But rationality can mask ambition. And ambition, once institutionalized, finds ways to become self-referential, protecting the system that feeds it. The result is overlapping interest where truth becomes a resource and transparency a luxury. That's why you see swapped priorities, dormant investigations, selective leaks, and a sense of impunity spreading like fungus in the dark. The scattered pieces of the board, when brought together, form a troubling pattern. There were episodes, days etched into public memory, that revealed more than what was said. Signs of internal operations, agents embedded in crowds, administrative decisions shaping entire narratives. When institutions become actors, the line between crowd control and political subversion blurs. And when oversight fails, whether through complacency or collusion, leaks become underground currents. People with knowledge who dare to speak become rare, and anyone trying to lift the lid finds the system built to resist the light. What was once exception starts to feel like method. In response, there emerges the call for radical remedy. We must go back to the beginning. We must question the entire chain. Not for revenge, but for restoration. There is a demand to adjudicate publicly what has occurred, accounts to settle, documents laid bare, names to be spoken. Calls for more prosecutors, for investigations not reliant on isolated moral acts, echo loudly. The demand is for an architecture of accountability, not depending on the moral chance of a whistleblower, but a judicial apparatus that acts with priority and speed. Because slow justice, when evil moves fast, only confirms the advantage of power. Yet, some argue that administrative reforms are insufficient, that superficial restructuring never touches the core. The proposed solution is deeper. Dismantle the body that protects the body. reconfigure agencies, divide responsibilities, shrink the reach of a machine that has grown to blur with the state itself. Voices suggest redistributing counter-terrorism apparatus, restoring clear mandates to federal policing, and replacing career cycles rewarding obedience with standards of responsibility. Each step comes at a cost: enmity in power circles, accusatory headlines, loss of privilege. But it also opens the possibility of reinstating a public contract between citizens and institutions. There is another, perhaps more immediate risk: reaction. Point at the centers of power, and resentment radicalizes the other side. Polarization becomes more than words. It becomes an escalatory ladder. As the gears are dismantled, parts of society interpret each move as political purge. And where fierce interpretations flourish, violence sprouts, not by accident, but as symptom. The paradox is cruel. Saving the structures of the Republic may require measures many perceive as attacks on freedom itself. Inaction allows the machine to mature and solidify a new form of authority. At the center of this storm are episodes that raise alarms: agents among the masses on decisive days, public memories rewritten by internal actions, leaders who, by omission or design, allowed privilege to replace principle. These signs are not merely political, they are moral. They force us to ask, who watches the watchers? If institutional oversight fails, less legitimate paths remain: revolts, theories, private justice, eroding the social fabric further. The choice becomes painful and clear: enforce the law in the light, or watch the law consumed in shadow. And if we insist on complacency, the price is high. I am not speaking only of financial distractions and overlapping crises. The true cost is trust. When trust vanishes, eras and memories blur. Public narrative is replaced by convenient versions, and suspicion becomes the only currency. A republic that loses credibility is a theater with no audience. Institutions remain, but no one believes in them. That's the danger looming now. The bitter irony is that the very structures meant to preserve order, escaping critique, accelerate disorder. So here is the final call. A window remains, perhaps brief, to act. This is not a call for revenge, nor an invitation to anarchy. It is a call for choice, to rank priorities, to concentrate resources where capture has taken root, to appoint judges and prosecutors willing to confront the core, to organize processes that expose and resolve, to reconfigure agencies that have become self-sustaining. This will cost friends, reputation, comfort. But it will deliver something priceless: the chance to restore a public contract where rules apply to all. Still, any intervention will be contested by the major newspapers, pundits, and insider circles who lose access. They will claim you have turned authoritarian. They will declare the republic in jeopardy. Warnings will sound, and pain is inevitable. Yet the alternative, letting the machinery mature in silence, drags us toward boundaries where conflict is more brutal and more extreme. In the end, one question echoes behind the curtain. Can a republic survive when its guardians care more about themselves than the law? If institutions close in, who speaks for the streets, the workers, the voters left voiceless in the halls of power? And when answers come, if they come, Will they be public justice or veiled revenge? What will we leave for the next chapter? A fairer system, or just another face for the same old power? The curtain hasn't fallen. It has merely changed hands. And the question we must ask, before the clock runs out, is not who wins the next round, but what kind of nation we want to wake up to tomorrow.